loud. All right, so just making sure you've got maybe your cushion, blanket. If you've got yoga props, grab those. Sorry, I've got the hiccups already. It's a good start. And we'll start on our backs. So just find a comfortable position down on your back. If you want to have anything under your head, you can. But just try and make sure it doesn't affect getting your back nice and long. And then I like to keep my knees up. It helps me settle my lower back. You don't have to. You can have your legs long if you prefer. And then put your arms wherever works for you. Hands on your belly, out by side, overhead, whatever you need. We'll just take a few moments coming out of the day, onto our mats, into our bodies. Just observe your breath to begin with. You don't need to change it. Often the act of just actually paying attention will make it settle into a slower, deeper, calmer breath. Just watch where it goes, how it feels. And then start to take a little more control. So let's try and find a count. Somewhere between maybe 3 and 6. 4 is the usual. Counting in and counting out. And if you can still breathe through your nose at this time of the year, then make the most of it. A more efficient breathing system for our yoga practice. But equally, just do your best. What you might notice after a couple of rounds is a little pause starts to form in between your inhale and your exhale. Don't fight it, don't count it, allow it to happen as long as it lasts for, and then carry on with the next part of your breath. And don't worry, I haven't completely changed who I am and how I teach. We are going to be moving. We're going to be making all kinds of different shapes. So coming out of our super chill yin pranayama, let's move into a little bit more ujjayi. So keeping that steady count, that steady rhythm. On your next exhale, you're going to try and find pelvic floor and draw it in. Keep hold of it as you breathe. And then maybe you can start to connect. That's your Mula Bandha. Maybe you can start to connect to your Dhyana Bandha, which is the space between your belly button and your pubic bone, really. So all the lower belly. Trying to draw it towards two sides towards each other. And then as we're on our backs, we're trying to draw the strength down towards the mat. So this shouldn't be like an exercise that creates tension in your face, makes your breath change. You're probably working on like somewhere between a 30 to 50% hold. And if you practice that enough, eventually it will just happen. Certainly subtly, even if not completely. And then as you go about your day and about your yoga, you'll have much better core support for your lower back, balance, never mind all the other benefits of core strength. So we're going to take 3 more breaths. I'm going to stop talking so I can do them. 4 in, 4 out, holding on to your lower bandhas, but not your teeth. keeping hold of everything. If you can, find your fingers, find your toes, give them a wiggle. And then bring your knees in over your chest. You can point or flex your feet or let them relax, it doesn't matter. And bring your hands onto your thighs. Just draw your chin towards your chest so that the back of the neck is long, and allow your shoulders to drop down towards the mat. So there's a couple of options here. We're going to keep working on the band of control and the contraction of the deep core. You could just have your hands on your shins or the back of your legs, whatever feels right for you. And on your next exhale, you're going to really draw the belly down and try and take the ribs towards the hips. So don't think about lifting your head, just try and take ribs towards hips. If tucking your chin into your chest allows your shoulders to roll up as well, then carry on. You want to go to somewhere where you're working, but you're still able to breathe. So you can hold up there for maybe 3 breaths. That's not hold your breath, hold the position. Once you've got used to that, you can maybe take your knees on top of your hips, so your legs are a bit further away. Maybe bring your hands onto your thighs. Same thing, use an exhale to compress. Draw your ribs towards your hips. Relax your face, let your shoulders fall back down towards the floor. And again, if you want any more, you could extend one leg or both legs as far away, and for me it's not that far, that you can keep your belly flat. So what we want to avoid is the big mountain range exploding at the top. So if I take my legs flat, my lower back will pop up and I'll get Mount Everest in the middle. So just work wherever you can. Let's take 3 or 4 more breaths in whichever position feels right for you. Remember, you're not straining up with your head, you're closing that space between the ribs and the hips. And relax down. Bring the knees in for a hug, have a little roll around. Quite an intense start, I know, but it's okay. It'll be useful. Let's bring the feet down to the mat again. Knees are foot width, maybe a bit wider than hips, that's fine. Just try and keep your knees in line with your feet. Let's roll up through some bridges. You could bring your palms flat to the floor, or if you like, once you've lifted up your hips, you could interlace your hands beneath you. What you want to try and do once you've got the hips up is try and walk the outsides of the arms underneath. So the top of the shoulders, outsides of the shoulders, starts to roll underneath you. Try not to use all your bum here. Try and use your legs, your back. Breathe. Good. Slowly bring yourself back down. We'll do 3 more. Nice and steady. Holding at the top for 3 or 4 breaths. So feel free to explore a bit more height maybe this time. Maybe you want to push up onto tiptoes. Try and keep your bottom below 100% engagement. If you feel this in your lower back, probably because your bum's going crazy. Not necessarily, but probably. You don't have to come down between. You could stay up for longer. If you like, you could bring your hands under your back. So your elbows are in the mat. Not so that you lean into your hands, but so that you have a gentle reminder of where to lift from. And slowly bring yourself down. Let's bring the left foot up onto the right knee. So recline pigeon. Just make it an active press out of the knee first before you lift up the right leg. So really try and push the left knee out to the side, keeping the left foot flexed. That might feel like enough. Or if you want to, you could draw the right leg in. You can take hold. You want to try and keep the head and shoulders relaxed and the left knee out to the side. If you picked up your right foot, bring it back down. Let's twist to the right, coming Across, bringing the left foot down to the floor, trying to get the right thigh to fall down, but keeping the left shoulder in the mat if you can. Optional extras here if you want to, or to try and hold one or both feet with the opposite hands. Just being careful not to arch the back. Keep the shoulders relaxed and the jaw soft. Letting go of your feet, keeping the figure four as you come back through the middle. And we'll roll to the left. So using the weight of your left leg to draw your right knee over. If eagle legs is something you like to practice, you could wrap your left toes behind your right calf. And take a twist, keeping the right shoulder in the mat. And then bringing yourself back to the middle, untangling the legs. Just having a roll to settle hips and shoulders back, down nice and even. And we'll do the other side. So left foot in the mat, right foot flexed up onto the left knee. And try and press your right knee out. And stay with that. Or maybe you lift the left leg, holding on to it. Keeping head and shoulders relaxed, trying to keep the hips down. And the right knee out to the side. Good. Bringing your left foot down and twisting across to the left. Taking a moment before you add the extra bits to just settle into that twist. And then if you want to hold opposite hands and feet, go for it. Untangling, finding your way back through the middle and over to the right. Again, eagle legs if you want to, tucking your right toes behind your left calf. Try and keep the left shoulder down in the mat. And bring yourself back to the middle, knees in. Have a roll. Okay, so we're going to reconnect to the banders, to that strength behind the tummy button. And we're going to start to rock and roll the length of the spine. So maybe you hold the back of your thighs, maybe you hold your shins, whatever works for you. Just start to get a little roll forwards and backwards. Trying to get as much length as you can. If you've got space for your feet to go down behind you, let them if that feels good. Do one more. This time, next time you're on your bum, hold onto a boat. You can bring your feet down if you like while you get the length in your spine, and then try and float them up from the floor. So I've got my feet flexed. I'll take my socks off. You can point your toes if you prefer, but really try and lift yourself as tall as you can, drawing your legs towards you. Okay, we're going to roll back down and try and catch this same boat. Remember, the less momentum you use, the less momentum you'll have to control. Yeah, so go as steady as you can. And try and catch yourself. Do two more like this. Good. All right, this time we're going to hold the right shin, extend the left foot into the plant, and roll back. Be careful of your nose with the right knee, and try and catch yourself in your asymmetric boat. Again. Good. So try not to have a death grip on the shin. If you feel comfortable doing it without holding your leg, you could open the hands. Do one more. Good. Switch over. Scoot myself back a little. So put the right leg out, hold on to the left shin. We're doing 4. Roll yourself back up. You might find one side easier or harder than the other. The left leg doesn't want to be bent. Good. Maybe take the hands off the leg. All right, and then let's sit as tall as we can in our boat and go for a little pedal. So push the left leg out, pull the right leg in. Push the left leg out, pull the right leg in. If you want to, you can have the bent leg foot on the floor. We want to be really careful that we don't roll into the back here, that we keep ourselves tall. Do one more each side. Good. Cross your ankles, roll yourself over, and find your way to all fours. Okay, so let's work with our cat-cow. Please, if you can, try not to do your cow pose by dropping your tummy to the floor. Okay, try and keep those bandages on. And rather than drop the belly to the floor, think about lifting the head, reaching the heart forward, and lifting the hips. Cat pose, much easier to counteract because you're pulling away from the floor anyway. But try if you can in your cow to lift your head and hips rather than drop your tummy down. So when you feel ready, reach through the spine, reach through the top of the head, through the heart, through the tail. Lift up. And as you exhale, tuck the chin, press the shoulder blades apart, and draw your tail between your legs. Inhale, lengthen, and lift the tips of your spine. Exhale, lift the middle of your spine, and try and touch the tips beneath you. Good. Find a few more. Breathing in. One more. And from your cat, maybe with a little wag of the tail, maybe taking the knees a bit wider, bring your feet together and push your hips back to your heels, keeping the arms active, maybe pressing the palms down or lifting onto fingertips, trying to push the armpits towards the mat. You can keep your head up or let it rest on the floor or a block. Breathe here. We're getting the stretch benefits through the hips, through the spine of child's pose. And then we're adding extra benefits in the shoulders, getting some nice warmth. If you've got lots of space in your shoulders, be careful your shoulder blades don't roll onto each other here. You're trying to draw the armpits towards the mat, or maybe even towards your ears, if that's necessary as a thought. For me, the mat is plenty rotation, but my shoulders are very stiff. Okay, keeping your arms active, but keeping your hips near the heels if you can. Walk both hands over to the left side. Really reach back through your right hip. And through the middle, over the other way. And back to the middle. And just give yourself a few breaths, nice and soft with your arms forwards or backwards or hands behind your head, wherever feels most restful for you. Okay, so bringing your hands out in front of you again, if they're not, finding those active arms, walking your knees back in towards hip width, lifting the hips so you can tuck the toes. We're going to try and pull ourselves back into a child's pose. So focusing, back into a downward dog, sorry. So focusing on the backwards movement, push out through your heels, push back through your hips, feel the knees start to float, and then find your way up, keeping everything reaching back. So your hands push the floor down And then everything else pulls backwards, out of the mat, into the hips, and then trying to push down through the heels. Not forcing the legs straight by flattening the knees and trying not to let the head pop out of the arms, but reaching down through the heels. You can do that with quite bent knees. You can still be very active there. It's a really good way to build extra space in the ankles. If your heels come to the floor, see if you can keep the knees soft. Good. Take one more breath. And then walk your feet towards your hands. Let's find a fold at the top of the mat. You can have your feet almost mat width if you like. Hold your elbows or place your hands on the back of your head, or just let your fingers trail, whatever feels right for you. Roll, rock, sway. And then bring yourself up to standing. Okay, let's move through a few little sun cells, even though it's nearly nighttime. So bringing your feet towards each other, they don't have to touch, but just know where they are and place them on purpose. Spreading your toes, lengthening the legs, lengthening the spine, finding nice long arms, finding those bandhas, okay? Keep yourself strong in the middle. The more you practice it consciously, the more unconscious it will become, and then the safer you'll be as you move. So come find your breath again. And we'll use an inhale to take the arms all the way up. Let's take hold of the right wrist, press into the right foot, and as you exhale, lean away to the left. Let's take a few breaths here, really trying to get that right side as long as you can. Be careful not to push your right hip out. Try and lift yourself over. If you like, you could play with crossing the right foot in front or behind the left leg. Maybe in front feels better for me. Replace the feet. Use an inhale to come back through the middle. Balance yourself out. When you're ready, stretch out that left side. Press into the left foot. Lean to the right. So try not to let your left hip pop out. Take a few breaths. Play with crossing the legs in front or behind. And bring yourself back to the middle. And bring your arms back down to your sides. Okay, so we're just going to work through the in-betweens. They're not A's, they're not B's. Apparently they're sometimes called moon salves. I call them sun salve C. You've definitely done them. Let's use an inhale to lift the arms up. And an exhale to hinge and fold forwards from the hips, bringing your hands to the floor. As you inhale, lift your gaze, look forwards and step your right foot back. And as you exhale, drop the right knee. Let's inhale, lift the arms, careful with your back, keep your belly on. And find your way down, stepping back through your plank, maybe knees down as you exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward dog. And exhaling back to downward. And we'll take 3 breaths in downward dog. Let's inhale, reach the right leg out. And as you exhale, bring your knee beneath you, step your right foot forwards. Let's keep the left knee lifted. Use your inhale to lift the hands. Be careful with your belly. Remember, you can move your hips back. And as you exhale, hands come down. Step the left foot next to the right. Take an inhale to lengthen through your half fold. And exhale, folding over the legs. Inhaling all the way up. And exhaling, hands to heart. Inhale, lift up tall. Inhale, lift through your half fold, step your left foot back. Exhale, the left knee down, belly on. Use an inhale to lift through your low lunge. And exhale to come down through your vinyasa, steady, steady. Finding your way back to downward dog. 3 breaths. Use your inhale to reach your left leg out. And as you exhale, bring your knee beneath you, place the left foot down, keep the right knee lifted, belly on. As you inhale, lift up through your high lunge. Exhale, hands come down. Step the right foot next to the left. Inhale, half fold. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up. And as you exhale this time, find your way back down. Inhale, half fold. Set the right foot back. You can keep the knee lifted if you like. Whenever your next inhale comes, use it to lift you up. And as you exhale, twist out to the right. So an open twist, but keep your right hip forward. Next inhale is going to bring the hands through the middle. Exhale out to the left. Closed hip. Keep that left knee tracking forward. Inhale back to the middle. Exhale, find your way through your vinyasa to downward dog. 3 breaths. Inhaling, reach the right leg out. Exhaling, bring it beneath you. Step it forwards. Keep the left knee up, belly on. As you inhale, lift up. As you exhale, twist out to the left. Keep the left hip forwards. Inhale through the middle. Exhale to the right. Keep that right knee hugging in. Inhale to the middle. Exhale, hands come down. Stepping onto the right foot, bringing the left next to it. Inhale through your half fold. Exhale through your foot. Inhale all the way up. Exhale all the way down. Inhale, look forwards. Left leg goes back. Inhale, whenever it happens, up through your lunge. And as you exhale, twist out, opening into warrior 2 to the left. So bend into your right knee and turn your left foot a little maybe to help open the hips. Reach to your fingers but drop your shoulders. So your next inhale is going to spin you back through your high crescent. And your exhale takes you down. If you want to do a 3-legged vinyasa, keep the right foot lifted, keep the belly on to protect your back. Good. 3 breaths. Inhaling the left leg up. Exhaling, bring it beneath you. Step it forwards. Keep the right knee lifted. As you inhale, lift up. And as you exhale, turn out, warrior 2. Couple of breaths here, finding length in the arms, dropping the shoulders, strong in the legs. As you inhale, come back through your crescent lunge. We're going to vinyasa again for balance. So find your way down. Keep the left leg lifted if you like, but keep your belly on. And both feet down, downward dog. Take 5 breaths here. If you want to take a twist, maybe try reaching your right hand back towards your left leg. Peeking out under your arms if you've got blocks. If you put a block under the hand in the mat, this will feel really nice. There's a lot less strengthy and a lot more stretchy. Other way, left hand to right leg. back to downward dog. From here, let's walk the feet towards the hands and just tuck your toes outside your wrist if you can. So bend your knees to make that happen. So your toes are just going outside the wrists, heels are just slightly narrower, and then let's sit down into Malasana, into Yogi Squat. So if your Malasana isn't flat foot yet, try and put something underneath your heels so you practice the flat foot. Because if you always practice your toe stand, you're not stretching the back of your ankles, you're not helping yourself get more space there, yeah? So once you've got your feet flat into something, lift the spine up tall, draw the belly in. Your knees push out by themselves, but you can add a wedge with the arms if you like. I'm kind of feeling like straight arms, fingers in the mat, but you could do prayer hands apart. Keep the hands lifted, take them wide. Let's take a twist maybe, bring the right hand into the middle. Be careful your right shoulder and right knee don't fall in. Spin yourself out to the left. Maybe placing left hand on the thigh or lifting the left arm up. If you want to, you can try binding around the right knee to make sure you haven't got a death grip and you don't lose your form in the rest of the pose. Good. Come back through the middle, over the other way. Adding any extra bits that feel good. And back to the middle. So obviously if you've got something under your feet, be careful, but if you can walk your feet in a bit narrower and maybe even have your toes facing forwards if that feels okay for you, try and keep your heels down and see if you can just give your shoulders a really big squeeze with your knees. For me, this is like instant jelly in my inner thighs. If you're not instant jelly, squeeze a bit harder so you start to tremble. Make sure you're breathing. Take your hands away from the mat if you feel comfortable. You could try and pick up the heels and keep squeezing and trembling. So coming into a squat toe stand. And you come back down onto your heels while squeezing. Explore. Okay, we're going to sit back down onto our bottoms. So go as slowly as you can. Good, and then try and pull yourself as far forwards as possible. I'm working on being able to roll up to sitting without crossing my ankles. That might be something you can already do and therefore seem a bit of a weird target for me, but I can't do it. So just try and keep yourself as high as you can. Belly and thighs as close as possible. Breathing, breathing. Good. Lift the feet if you need for a bit of momentum and just see. See if you can rock forwards. If you need to go down onto your back. Oh, I can do it with some momentum. So see if you can get yourself onto your feet. If you need to cross your ankles or use your hands, that's fine. We're going to do 4 more rocks. We're going to have 5 in total. And just try and be as controlled as you can, okay? Make sure you're breathing and just find your way. I don't know what makes it stick and what doesn't make it stick, but anyway. Okay, so just bring your hands in front of you in your squat, fingers facing your feet, palms facing up, giving the wrist a little stretch. We're going to find our way back into a high plank. If you want a little rocket boost up your bum, you could try jumping yourself back from here, so lifting the hips and landing yourself back, pressing the arms straight when you get there. Otherwise, set back, that's fine. Your hands are going to be either just in front of the shoulders or underneath. Maybe fingers turned out slightly. You can have your feet hip width or a bit wider if you want to. Thighs are lifting away from the mat, belly, chest, everything's pulling away from the mat. Not so that you're rounded and your bum's up. So there's space between the shoulder blades and strength through the whole body. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then spin both toes out to the right side. So you come onto the edges of your feet. Lift the right shoulder, lift the right hand, and spin into your side plank. Try and push your right hip up. If you want to stack the feet, you can. If you want to lift the right foot, go for it. Breathe. Good. Bring the right foot back down. Spin yourself across through the middle. Reset. Take a moment. And then spin your feet to the left. Lift the left shoulder, left arm, left hip, left foot maybe. Coming back through the high plank. And then knees up or knees down. You're going to try and take 3 breaths to lower down onto your belly. So remember, having your legs up makes you heavier. Reach back through your heels. Reach forwards through your head. Hug the elbows in. You can definitely do this. And bring your knees down. Just try not to let your belly drop. And rest. For a moment on your tummy. Do whatever you need. And then we're going to try and push ourselves back up the way we came. So tuck your toes so you can push out through your heels. Make sure your knees are in the mat, but try and start to lift your pelvis, your hips, your pubic bone, whatever's in the mat there. Try and lift that away. Maybe you can get your lower belly away too. Try and draw your core up and in. Push down into the floor. Reach through the top of your head. Look forwards. And then try and press yourself up. The whole body moves as one. Back to your plank. Back to your downward dog. You can take a couple breaths in your downward dog. Maybe take that twist again if it feels good. Or come straight down into child's. And then coming down into child's, everybody. And taking a few breaths, knees narrow or wide, arms forwards or back. You can do all sorts of things with your arms in child's pose. You could have your arms in front of you. You could turn your palms up to the ceiling. You bring your hands behind your head or wrap your arms around your legs. Do whatever feels good for you. And breathe here. All right, finding your way, back up with your head, back up to your fours, walking your knees towards your wrists, tucking the toes, and pushing yourself back into your Malasana. So, had a request to do a little bit of arm balancing, so it's crow time now. If crow isn't already in your practice, you've got to start somewhere, so that's fine. If you want to stop yourself being worried about face planting, you can put some softness for your face. Sometimes it's taught with a block to rest your forehead on. You can do that if you like, but be careful because it can put weird pressure on your neck. Really, as long as you are concentrating, you should always be able to put your feet back down. Falling on your face is unlikely if you're not paying attention. I mean, if you're paying attention. If you're not paying attention, you could fall anywhere in crow pose. Okay, so tips for crow. If you want to go ahead and just do your own crow thing right now, if it's already in your practice, maybe try staying for 8 breaths. Maybe trying to lift everything higher. So that drill we did where we squashed the knees onto the shoulders, keeping the feet together, drawing them up. That will really help you lift your crow eventually into a crane and eventually into a handstand press if that's your thing. Try if you can, if you're already taking off, to get both feet to come up together. If you're just starting out or you're not that confident in your crow, don't worry. Bring your hands to shoulder width or slightly wider and maybe turn your fingers out slightly. We want to keep the elbows in line with the wrist. If the elbows go outside of the wrist, it puts a horrible, horrible strain on the inside of the wrist, on your thumb, which you don't need as a modern human who does lots of grabbing and lots of thumb stuff, okay? Turn your fingers out slightly, pull your elbows in. You don't need to have your flat feet now. You can be in a toe stand, you can have your bum higher because you want to lift it eventually, and try and glue your knees as far up your arms as you can. On the outside is fine, or on the back of your arms if you're starting to practice more advanced crow stuff. But it's harder if your knees are on your arms rather than on the outside, okay? Just because you'll pull yourself into like a Latin, which is not what you want to do. From here, look forwards. Once you've got your hands in the mat, don't look at them, okay? They're there, you can feel it. Look forwards, because you want your head to counterbalance your bum. So you need to look forwards and move forwards. Try and keep your arms bent, but try and take your shoulders beyond your hands. And then you can practice one foot up, other foot up. One foot up for a whole inhale and exhale. Place it back down, other side. And then rather than carrying on with one foot up then the other one, try and just bring both feet together. Maybe you walk them in and touch them. Maybe you can drag them. Maybe you can squeeze them up together towards your bottom. Breathe, don't look down at your hands, keep looking off the end of your mat. And whenever you need to come down, you can come down and flip the hands and stretch the wrists. So definitely don't be afraid of it. Just because you can't do it yet doesn't mean you shouldn't do it now. Obviously, if you have wrist injuries or some other reason that makes it unsafe, fine. But just because you can't do it isn't a reason to not try it, yeah? Because of course you can't do it until you do it. So let's have another go working on your crow. If your crow is getting higher and stronger, you can try bringing your hands more to shoulder width. You can try and straighten the arms out more. You can try and suck the hips up higher. You can try and move one knee into the middle and then the other. So taking it off the leg. Trying to bring it in beneath you and then place it back out. Same on the other side. And then back down. I can tell you when you're not putting energy into talking, slightly easier, but I don't practice these things because they're easy. I practice them because they're hard, and I like doing hard things. Remember, if you want to do crow practice but your wrists don't feel like it, that position we started in, on our backs, working on closing the gap between the ribs and the hips, that's a really good drill for your crow, a really good way to build your strength and your compression without hurting your wrists. So I call it dead bug, gluing your feet together, taking your knees wide, bringing your arms inside, and using your belly to make your knees move up towards your shoulders. Rather than lifting your head, use that strength in the middle. See if you can hold it and breathe. See if you can squash the knees in. And that will really help you get your feels for your crow without annihilating your wrists. Because yoga can definitely hurt your wrists. There's no doubt about that. All right, so finding your way back down into all fours whenever you've had enough. And let's come and do a bit of puppy pose to stretch out the chest. And you can stretch out your belly as well afterwards, but do your chest first, okay? So what we want to try and make sure that happens here is, like in cow pose, is we don't start puppy pose with the belly down, okay? So find your balance, draw the belly up and in, tuck your tail between your legs, find your hips on top of your knees and take your hands out in front. Now I've got a cushion because, as I said, my shoulders are really, really tight. Bring the floor up to meet you. So if you don't know if you need it, go down and come back and sort yourself out in a second. But rather than shifting forwards till you find the floor, or throwing your bum up in the air, try and keep your hips tucked, your hands are in a long all fours, but your shoulders are exactly where they would be if you were in all fours. And then try and press the chest down towards the floor, the cushion, the thing. Breathe. If you like, you can hold the edge or the front of your mat. Sometimes doing something with your hands can help you get a different rotation in the shoulders, can help it feel less pinchy. Again, if you've got really spacey shoulders, you don't want your shoulder blades to be rolling in on each other here. Try and keep some space. If you like, when you've touched down on something for a bit, if you want to let the hips roll up, go for it. But by shifting the bend into the lumbar, you're going to reduce the impact it has on your thoracic spine, which is where the mobility is limited. So maybe tuck your hips back under again. See if you can maintain that depth and that comfort in your breathing. If it starts to get a little bit tight and a bit too inhaling, then change something so you can inhale and exhale, nice and steady. Finding your belly, finding your legs, pressing into your hands, lifting yourself back up to all fours. So we'll come and do thread the needle. Options for extras with your thread the needle are when you reach through to one side. So if you reach through to the left side, you put your left leg out to the side for hamstrings, or you can sit your hips back towards your heels so you get like a different pull in the shoulder. Or you can just stay in normal all fours and normal thread the needle. Whatever works for you. So let's press the floor down with the left hand. Use an inhale to reach the right one up. And exhale to thread under to the left. Let's do two more. Inhale tall. Exhale under. Inhale tall. Exhale under. So coming onto right shoulder, right cheek. Maybe taking the left hand out in front of you. Maybe wrapping it behind. Whatever arms you choose, maybe you take your left leg out to the side. Maybe you even hold it with your right arm. Or you could sit your hips back to your heels. Make like a child's pose body. Whatever feels right for you. 3 more breaths. And then finding your way back up to all fours. And then off we go the other way. So reaching your left arm out. And exhaling it underneath the right side. Inhale, twist up and open to the left. Exhale, spread out to the right. To the left. And to the right. Coming down onto your left shoulder, left cheek. Maybe walking right hand out in front or wrapping it round behind you. Maybe you take your right leg out to the side. Maybe you hold it with the left hand. Or maybe you take the hips back to the heels. Child's pose with thread the needle. Finding your way back up to all fours. And up to you, you can move from here to the lunge, or you can do so from downward dog, whichever you prefer. You're going to step your right foot forwards, bringing it outside the hands and come down onto the left knee. Keep the left toes tucked. And just start to sink yourself down into lizard here. If the elbows come to the mat, great. Or you can bring the mat up to meet them. Try and keep your right knee drawing in towards your right shoulder. And then if you want to, You could let the right knee fall out to the side, so you come onto the pinky edge of the right foot. Careful with your ankles, be careful with your hips. Try and keep your shoulders level with the mat. Take a little twist here with your right knee out, or bring it back in as you reach the right arm out behind you. Maybe squeezing the left foot up and taking hold. Carefully release the back foot down if you picked it up. Bring yourself back through the middle. Keeping a cushion handy perhaps as you walk your right foot across to the left side of your mat. Perhaps it also comes down towards the left hip. And then let your right knee come down, right shin come down into pigeon. And if you want to prop up your bottom, go for it. Walking the spine long, coming down onto the floor, maybe propping yourself up again. Find whatever you need. Breathing here. Options if you like. If you want a bit more of a twist, you could reach the left arm out to the right side, keeping the right arm in front of you, or take your right arm round. Maybe you can find your right foot. And then carefully bringing yourself back up, just moving any props out the way, hands down into the mat, find your bandhas, lift yourself back up, 2 or 4s or downward dog, wherever you came from, and pedal it out. And then we'll do the other side. Left foot outside the hands, right knee comes down, keep the right toes tucked, and start to sink yourself down into the mat, or into some support, trying to squeeze the left knee in towards the left shoulder. You want to let the left knee fall out. You're onto the pinky edge, go for it. Try and keep that left shoulder down to begin with. Take our twist in a moment. And then twist in. You can bring your knee back in if you like. Reach the left arm forwards, up and back. Maybe squeezing the right foot in to take hold. Carefully releasing your right foot down. Bring yourself up, just moving the front of your mat to be clear. Walk your left foot across to the right, and maybe it comes back a little as you bring the left shin down and find your way into pigeon here. Support yourself with any props that you need as you go long, forwards, down. Maybe reaching the right arm out to the left. Maybe wrapping the left arm around behind. And carefully finding your way back up. Nice and strong as you lift yourself back to wherever you came from. And then in whatever way makes sense to you, finding your way down onto your bottom, bringing your knees back in for a hug, for a roll. Maybe taking a twist or 2, or a happy baby, whatever feels good for you. If you've got a wall or a bed nearby. You could put your legs up against that. Or feel free to make yourself comfortable with whatever cushions, blankets, etc. that you had. Trying to create some space. I'm going to go for a reclined down angle to help undo all that crow strength, tightness in my chest. Remember, the point of our Shavasana is not, oh good, we're still. Now I can go back to thinking about all the things. We want to try, if we can, to be there in that moment of stillness. Let's be honest, it doesn't happen very often when we're awake. So try and make the most of it. Get comfortable. Feel yourself supported by whatever you put beneath you. Just bring your attention to your breath. Maybe taking a few more big inhales, scrunching everything up. Big exhales, letting it all go. Maybe you can allow your breath to just settle back to its normal rhythm, natural rhythm. Bringing in what you need, taking out what you don't. Just trusting that to happen. And as your body and your breath settle, invite your mind to join. Turning off, but becoming an observer without reaction. Allowing thoughts, distractions to come and go without following as you let yourself rest. You did the best you could today. And that is always enough. Gently, it's time to bring your attention back to your breath. Feeling that cool inhale, fill you up. New space, new energy. And a warm exhale, carry away anything that no longer serves you. As you feel each breath, bring a little more energy in. Feel it start to build, start to spread. Down the arms to the fingers, down the legs to the toes. Finding a little wiggle. A little bit more. As you reconnect your mind and your body with your breath. Shifting your attention, bringing back movement, piece by piece, nose to nose. Maybe stretching all the way out, tucking all the way in, and giving yourself a big hug. And say thank you to you for this time today. Time to explore, time to connect. Facing challenges with courage, kindness, playfulness, and patience. Taking all of that with you along with the peace and calm that you've created into the rest of your day. Keeping your eyes closed if you can. Carefully coming up to a comfortable seat. And watch your ledge, rolling the head side to side, stretching out the neck. And back to the middle. Next inhale, shoulders to ears. Exhale, drop. 2 more. Bring your hands to prayer at your heart. If you'd like to join me in an om to finish, you're very welcome. Inhaling. Bring your prayer to your forehead. Always think good thoughts. Prayer to your lips. Always speak good words, especially to yourself. And turning your hands to your heart. Always do good things. Opening your eyes. Namaste. Thank you, my dears. Right, I shall stop the recording. No worries. Recording is stopped.